Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're taking a focused look, really digging into what the next decade might hold for medicine.
Yeah, we've been looking through some really interesting stuff.
Specifically, excerpts from a chapter called The Future of Hyperbaric Medicine. Now, that might sound, quite niche,
It might, yeah.
but it actually gives us a great lens, a really interesting perspective on the broader trends shaping healthcare's future.
Exactly. And our goal, our mission for this deep dive is really to pull out the most significant and maybe even, well, surprising changes we can expect.
In how we diagnose things, how we treat illness.
Right. We'll cover a lot from tiny molecular tests all the way up to advanced therapies, and we'll always be thinking about how different fields are expected to progress.
And how something like hyperbaric medicine, which is the focus of the source, kind of intersects with all these bigger developments.
That's the idea.
Okay, so the analysis kicks off talking about molecular diagnostics. It sounds like we're on the edge of some really tiny, minute level advancements. We're hearing about nanobiotechnology, letting us detect incredibly small traces, specific biochemicals, even like single microorganisms. What's the real impact of being that sensitive?
Well, think of it like this. You can identify the absolute earliest signs of disease. Maybe just a few molecules or a single cell acting up.
Long before anything shows up on a standard test.
Exactly. Long before. This could totally shift our approach, from treating diseases that are already established to maybe stopping them before they even really start.
That's a huge shift.
Yeah.
A really different way of thinking. And it's not just about finding tiny things, is it? The analysis also points to a big increase in biochips, biosensors.
Right, the point-of-care tools.
Tools you can use right there with the patient. How does that change things, these point-of-care diagnostics?
Oh, absolutely. Imagine having rapid diagnostic tests, maybe in the doctor's office or a clinic, maybe even at home eventually, giving results in minutes. These biochips, they're basically tiny labs on a chip. They can run a whole range of tests quickly, easily. That speed means faster diagnosis, getting the right treatment started sooner.
And the analysis also mentions genotyping becoming more routine, understanding our genetic makeup day to day.
Yeah, that's part of it too. Understanding an individual's specific genetic information more regularly.
So, okay, with routine genotyping and these super fast point-of-care tests, are we looking at a future where treatment is like hyper-personalized from the moment you're diagnosed?
And that's exactly the direction things are moving. Imagine, a quick test not only tells you what infection you have, but also the bug-specific genetic weak points.
So the doctor knows the best antibiotic instantly.
Right. And just knowing your own genetic risks could lead to much more tailored prevention strategies throughout your life.
Then the deep dive moves on to the power of sequencing. Next-generation sequencing specifically. It's already impactful, but it sounds like its role is set to just explode, particularly for diagnostics and personalized medicine.
Yeah, it's huge.
What makes this next-generation part so significant?
Well, fundamentally, it's about reading DNA and RNA much, much faster, and crucially, at a much lower cost than the older methods.
Okay.
And if you connect that back to molecular diagnostics, the prediction is we'll see portable sequencers, smaller labs, maybe even point-of-care settings having this tech.
Which means that incredibly detailed biological data becomes way more accessible, speeds things up, less reliance on big central labs.
Precisely. It democratizes that level of information.
Okay, now let's talk about imaging. Seeing things we couldn't see before. Molecular imaging. The analysis mentions better contrast materials, whole new technologies.
Yeah, for incredibly detailed visualization inside the body.
Especially the brain, it says, maybe down to the level of individual cells, like histological detail but in a living person. That sounds like a superpower.
It really does. What's amazing there is the potential to see disease processes happening in real time, microscopically, without needing an invasive biopsy.
Which could change everything for conditions like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's.
Absolutely. Understanding and diagnosing them much earlier, perhaps. And then there's this idea of combining imaging with therapy using nanoparticles.
So you see the problem area and deliver the treatment right there using these tiny particles.
That's the concept, yeah. A really exciting frontier.
And all this improved detection, this molecular level view, it's leading to more biomarkers being discovered, right?
Yeah.
As diagnostics get sharper, we find new indicators.
Exactly. We uncover and then validate new signs of disease.
What's the significance of having more biomarkers available?
Well, the big thing is moving them beyond just research labs. The expectation is they'll become much more integrated into everyday clinical practice.
Helping doctors make better treatment decisions.
Better decisions, yeah, and providing a more precise foundation for molecular diagnostics itself.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit to pharmaceuticals. The analysis suggests a real evolution here, too. How we discover and develop drugs, moving away from animal testing towards using cells in the lab.
Yeah, that's a significant shift.
Why is that so important?
Well, often using cell-based models can give a more accurate picture, something more relevant to humans for how drugs might work and how safe they might be.
So hopefully leading to drugs that are more likely to succeed in human trials, fewer side effects.
That's the hope. Better translation from the lab to the clinic.
And alongside that, we're seeing this continued growth of personalized medicines, maybe replacing some older, more general drugs. What does that tailored future really look like?
The core idea is definitely moving away from one size fits all. Instead, you tailor therapies to an individual's specific biology, their genetics, the disease's characteristics, other unique factors.
Which promises better results, fewer bad reactions.
That's the promise, yes. Greater effectiveness, fewer adverse events. So yeah, we might see some older drugs phased out for treatments designed for very specific patient groups.
The analysis also predicts we'll actually discover more effective new drugs overall. Fewer failures late in development. That sounds huge.
It would be. A higher success rate bringing drugs to market just means more options for patients and, well, a more efficient process for everyone.
And then there's nanomedicines. These incredibly tiny delivery systems targeting drugs with way more precision, like a smart delivery service inside the body.
That's a great way to put it. This targeted delivery is especially key for things like cancer. You want to hit the cancer cells hard while sparing healthy tissue as much as possible.
Right.
And the increasing use of drugs with companion diagnostics ties into this too.
Those are the tests that tell you if a specific drug is likely to work for you.
Exactly. Identifying which patients will benefit most, it all pushes towards more precise, personalized treatment.
We're also apparently expecting remote vital sign monitoring to become much more common.
Yeah.
Wearables, other electronic tools tracking our health, poised to become mainstream for wellness tracking and actual disease diagnosis.
It seems that way. The potential benefits are pretty clear convenience for patients, especially those managing chronic conditions.
And doctors can track trends, maybe step in earlier.
Potentially, yes. Intervene proactively, maybe prevent serious problems. But, of course, there are things to think about.
Like data security and making sure everyone can access it.
Absolutely. Data privacy, security, equitable access, those are crucial considerations as this tech spreads.
Building on that precision idea, the analysis points to even smarter drug delivery, using nanobiotechnology, other methods to get drugs past difficult barriers, like the blood-brain barrier. Why is crossing that barrier such a big deal?
Well, the blood-brain barrier is basically the brain's security system. It's great at protecting it, but it also stops many drugs from getting in.
Making it really hard to treat neurological conditions.
Extremely hard. So advances in delivery systems that can sneak past or temporarily open that barrier offer real hope for treating things like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, brain tumors much more effectively.
The analysis also mentions more use of transdermal patches, delivering drugs through the skin in a controlled way instead of injection.
Right, another alternative.
And things like nasal delivery, especially for brain-targeted drugs. It sounds like we're looking at much more patient-friendly options overall.
Exactly. More options for how drugs are delivered isn't just about comfort or making it easier to stick to treatment, though that's important.
It also allows for builder control, more targeted delivery.
Precisely. It can increase effectiveness and potentially reduce side effects by getting the drug where it needs to be more efficiently.
Okay, synthetic biology is also mentioned, playing a growing role in improving diagnostics, drug development, enabling personalized medicine further. How does synthetic biology fit in?
So synthetic biology is about designing and building new biological parts, devices, systems. In medicine, that could mean engineering brand new diagnostic tests, maybe more sensitive, more specific.
Or new types of treatments.
Or new therapeutic agents, yeah. Including personalized medicines designed from the ground up for an individual's biology.
And then we get to something that still feels pretty sci-fi. Nanobots. Little robots navigating our bodies, finding disease, delivering treatment. The analysis stresses nanobiotech's importance generally, but hints at this.
It does hint at it. It's definitely futuristic, still very much in the R&D phase.
But what's the basic idea? How might they work?
Well, the concept is that These microscopic or even nanoscopic robots could be programmed for very specific jobs, like hunting down cancer cells, delivering a drug payload directly to a tumor, maybe even performing tiny surgical procedures.
Wow.
It's incredibly ambitious research, obviously, but the potential for super-targeted intervention is there.
Moving up a scale slightly, robotics in healthcare. The analysis expects more use, more refinement. Robots in surgery, helping staff, in rehab. How are they changing things already, and what's next?
We're already seeing surgical robots enhance precision, enable minimally invasive approaches, which is great for patients.
Faster recovery, smaller scars.
Right. In the future, we can probably expect even more sophisticated robots helping with a wider range of tasks, maybe dispensing medications, assisting with physical therapy. The aim is always improving efficiency and patient outcomes.
Cell therapy, especially stem cells, also gets highlighted. Treating various diseases, often combined with other regenerative techniques. What makes stem cells so promising here?
Their unique ability, really. Stem cells can develop into many different cell types. That makes them incredibly promising for, repairing or replacing tissues and organs that are damaged by disease or injury.
And combining them with other things like scaffolds.
Yeah, combining stem cells with things like nanofiber scaffolds, materials that guide cell growth and organization could make these therapies even more effective across a really wide range of conditions.
You should also expect more gene therapies getting approved in the next decade.
That seems to be the expectation, yes.
And gene editing tech like CRISPR, while powerful, is likely to remain under pretty tight ethical scrutiny for now.
Very likely, yes. The potential is enormous, but the ethical considerations are significant and need careful navigation.
What's the basic promise of gene therapy, though?
It's about treating disease at its absolute root cause, correcting the underlying genetic defect.
Which could mean long-lasting treatments, maybe even cures for some conditions.
That's the ultimate goal, yes, for conditions that are currently very tough to manage.
Regenerative medicine also comes up cell therapies using those nanofiber scaffolds to repair organs, and bioprinting. Printing organs using cells like liver cells to solve donor shortages. That sounds revolutionary.
But it really does.
How close are we to actually seeing that happen? Printing organs for transplants.
Organ printing is a very, very active research area. We're not quite printing fully functional, complex organs like hearts or kidneys for transplants yet.
But progress is being made.
Significant progress, yes, especially with simpler tissues, or what are called organoids, kind of mini-organ structures. And those nanofiber scaffolds are key, providing the structure for cells to grow on in these therapies.
Okay, what about aging? Geriatric medicine. As populations get older, understanding aging better is expected to lead to ways to slow it down, promote healthy aging, maybe increase lifespan by managing age-related diseases better?
That's a major focus. Research is looking at the fundamental biology of aging, figuring out what contributes to age-related diseases, and then developing interventions.
Interventions like lifestyle changes or actual medical treatments.
Both. Things that help people live not just longer, but healthier lives. So preventing frailty, managing chronic conditions better, maintaining cognitive function, those are key areas.
Interestingly, virtual reality pops up too. For therapy, especially neuropsychiatric disorders, using immersive controlled environments for treatment. How does putting on a VR headset help with mental health?
It's about creating safe, controllable scenarios. VR can let patients confront phobias, maybe process traumatic memories, practice social skills in a way that's just not possible or safe in the real world.
What kind of conditions?
It's being explored for things like PTSD, various phobias, anxiety disorders, even for managing chronic pain.
And underpinning so many of these data-heavy advancements is bioinformatics. The analysis really stresses its crucial role. Analyzing all this new medical data, translating research into practice, especially for personalized medicine, we need serious computing power for this.
Oh, absolutely. Bioinformatics is the essential link. It takes the raw data genomes, images, clinical notes, everything, and turns it into usable insight.
Insights for diagnosis, drug development, personalizing care.
Exactly. Without sophisticated computation and analysis, we'd just be drowning in data. We couldn't make sense of the sheer volume and complexity.
Even surgery itself is evolving. Some of these biotech breakthroughs might actually mean fewer traditional surgeries needed, while minimally invasive stuff continues to grow.
That seems to be the trend.
And the idea of going beyond microsurgery to nanosurgery, using nanolasers, that's amazing. How does this impact the patient?
Well, the overall direction is less invasion, more precision. That generally means smaller incisions, quicker recovery, less pain, hopefully better outcomes. Nanosurgery is kind of the ultimate expression of that, intervening at a cellular level with minimal disruption.
It's really becoming clear, isn't it, that personalized medicine isn't just one trend. It's kind of the central theme connecting so many of these different advancements.
Precisely. That ability to tailor everything, diagnosis, treatment to the individual, that's the real driving force behind so much of this innovation we're seeing.
The analysis even brings in social media, suggesting it'll play a bigger role in getting news about discoveries out to the public. Maybe even creating new interactions between scientists and the public that could influence development. That sounds interesting and maybe complicated.
It's definitely both. Information spreads incredibly fast online, which can be great for raising awareness. It can create dialogue, but it also makes it absolutely critical for people to be able to evaluate the health information they find online.
Yeah.
Accuracy, reliability, that becomes paramount.
Okay, so the analysis then zooms in on some key areas where these future developments are expected to have the biggest impact. Cancer's right at the top, a very active research area. Immunotherapy is looking especially promising.
Extremely promising, yes.
But it also notes, because cancer is so complex, we'll probably need combination approaches, right?
Yeah.
Not just one magic bullet.
That's very likely. Immunotherapies, which use the body's own immune system, are incredibly exciting. But cancer is multifaceted. So combining immunotherapies with, say, targeted drugs or maybe even refined chemotherapy will probably be needed for lasting cures in many cases.
Neurological disorders are another major focus. New biotech is helping, and big progress is expected in brain mapping connectomics.
Understanding the brain's wiring,
Yes,
which could lead to better treatments for really tough conditions like Alzheimer's, stroke. How does mapping the wiring help?
Well, understanding those intricate networks, how everything's connected in the brain, is fundamental if you want to develop rational therapies. You need to know what you're trying to fix.
So advances there, plus things like cell and gene therapies, nanotech targeting specific brain areas, it offers real hope for conditions that have been, frankly, very difficult to treat effectively.
Cardiovascular disorders, too. Expected to see big impacts from biotech and biomedical engineering. Cell therapy, nanobiotech playing key roles in prevention, management. What kind of uses are we thinking of?
You could be looking at technologies to help repair heart muscle after a heart attack, maybe deliver drugs directly to artery plaques, develop much smarter ways to monitor and prevent heart problems before they happen.
And for tropical diseases, emerging viruses, the hope is for new biotech tools for prevention, even eradication. Crucial for global health.
Absolutely crucial. Developing better vaccines, faster diagnostics, more effective treatments using biotechnology is vital, not just for ongoing challenges like TB and malaria, but also for being ready to tackle new viral threats quickly when they emerge.
And lastly, diabetes. Further development of the bionic pancreas for automated insulin delivery, and ongoing work on stem cell and gene therapies.
Yeah, the bionic pancreas aims to really improve blood sugar control, take away some of the daily burden of managing insulin. And meanwhile, yes, stem cell and gene therapies hold that longer-term promise of maybe regenerating insulin-producing cells or fixing underlying genetic issues.
Okay, so let's bring this back now to the core of our source material, hyperbaric oxygen, HBO. The analysis suggests it's expected to play a greater role in future medicine.
That's the suggestion, yes.
Hyperbaric chambers might become more common in major hospitals, and there's growing awareness among doctors and patients.
That seems to be the trend noted. But it's important, the analysis also stresses the need for more research, really solidifying the scientific evidence for when and how HBO is most effective, and understanding how it might integrate with all these new biotechnologies we've been talking about. That's seen as key too.
The discussion then goes into how HBO fits into that multidisciplinary approach to healthcare we see emerging, highlighting that common diseases are complex, multifactorial. They need integrated treatment plans.
Right. The point being made is that HBO is likely best used as part of a bigger plan, alongside surgery or meds or cell therapies, rehab, whatever is appropriate.
Not usually a standalone cure-all.
Generally not, no. More like a valuable tool within the whole therapeutic toolkit.
The analysis gives examples. Air embolism, decompression sickness. HBO is well established there, evidence-based.
Firmly established, yes.
For things like skin ulcers, certain low oxygen or low blood flow conditions like stroke, it's considered first line, but alongside other treatments.
Right, part of the primary approach.
And for other conditions, it might be considered supplementary Or an alternative depending entirely on the strength of the evidence.
Exactly. It's crucial to emphasize that. The level of scientific evidence is paramount. Just because other treatments aren't available doesn't automatically mean HBO is a right call. The evidence has to support its use in that specific situation.
Okay. And finally, the analysis lays out some future needs for hyperbaric medicine itself. Physicians needing to get familiar with new biotechnologies, how they might combine with HBO,
Yeah, staying current.
more collaboration with other specialties, adopting personalized approaches where possible, establishing academic positions for research and education, advocating for more research funding. It sounds like the field is really aiming for deeper integration, more recognition within mainstream medicine.
Absolutely. Those recommendations really outline the steps needed for hyperbaric medicine to evolve and, contribute effectively to healthcare's future alongside all these other exciting advancements we've discussed today.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, it's really clear the next decade in medicine looks set for some incredibly significant, rapid changes across a huge spectrum,
Definitely feels that way.
from the tiniest molecular tools right up to really innovative therapies, personalized approaches. Fields like molecular diagnostics, gene therapy, nanomedicine seem to be really driving things forward.
And I think the interconnectedness is key too. That's a major takeaway. These things aren't happening in isolation. They build on each other. They enable each other. And together they're pushing us towards healthcare that's hopefully more precise, more effective.
And more tailored to each of us as individuals.
Exactly.
So here's a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. Given how all these incredible technologies are starting to converge, what truly unexpected breakthroughs or maybe shifts in how healthcare actually gets delivered might we see? Things beyond the trends we've specifically highlighted today. And maybe just as importantly, as these powerful personalized tools become more common, what fundamental questions about access, about equity, about ethics will become even more critical for us all to grapple with? Something to really think about.
Definitely food for thought.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.